The events narrated are real. The place and the names of the characters were changed to protect the identity of those involved. The Republic of Ireland, a country where you can immerse yourself in the past. It is not difficult at all to feel medieval, and the Oldmans lived in Munster was the beginning of the 70s. No better country for bullies. The Irish fighting style is legendary. Grandpa Oldman told the story he had made a pact with the Goblin Legion, so in the fights they almost always won because they only threw the blow into the air and the Goblin Legion hit the opponents. Patrick Oldman is 12 years old. He was a gypsy boy, small for his age and stature, but he is curious about a bar that is in the town where there is an older girl that he likes, and he disdains to approach her to see her. She is a girl who enjoys drink and get paid to have sex with her. Arriving at the bar, they do not allow him to enter, for which he feels annoyed but manages to enter through the back door without realizing it. Sitting at a table, the girl arrives and asks him what he is doing there, to which he responds that she waits for her father, but when one of the men who were in that place saw him, he made fun of him and began to insult in front of her. Which is not funny to him, and with great courage he faces it, but being an older man he can much more than him and hits him. Without being able to do anything, he retreats annoyed after receiving a few good blows, but he stops fighting, and better he retires to regroup. If the person who hit him knew who he was related to, he would surely be very scared, since the family in the town was known for their bravado and most people feared them. It would be enough just to tell Dad what had happened and maybe he would get his revenge, but he did not decide that it would be that way. He took his father's .22 caliber rifle, loaded it, and prepared to return to the bar with great patience and waiting for the precise moment when that man who had attacked him left the bar. He waited a long time, and it was already early morning. He saw him retreat, followed him, and in a very dark place he shot him behind the head from behind and killed him for a simple offense. He was raised by bullies, but his murderous instinct was remarkable. Additionally, the fallen spirits intervene. His father, of the same name as him, he had a spirit of a goblin that accompanied him, and he taught him to use it from the age of 7 to 12. He was an expert in using it in a fight. He would hit a blow and the legion would hit others with his enemies. Crime, wickedness, sin was common in his family. After many crimes, Patrick Oldman Sr. was imprisoned, although many of them were committed by his children. The myth arrived that the Oldmans had a pact with the devil, and they were right. This stigma and their reputation as bullies was well deserved and feared, but after a while the police discovered links for the crimes committed and imprisoned the oldest of the Oldmans. Patrick's son, cornered and almost wrapped up, fled to another province. Many times I have been in my bed begging in prayer for reasons of grief or loss. If someone asked God, I asked him perhaps more. The grief is very great, but when invoking the demons these are easier to find, said Oldman. But the problem is that they do not solve your problems. They only want to see the evil in people, destroy them, and that you be the instrument for their death. After a while he realized that people who were good came to the church, and for a plate of food it was better than living in misery, so he joined some missionaries and began to be in the church. After all, it was an easy way to live. After fleeing from the enemies who wanted to kill him and arriving in an unknown town, they welcomed him with great care and kindness, giving you a roof and hot food. But the legion of the spirit of the goblin prevented him from the church, but with the need he stayed there, and after a while he also left a missionary. Oldman married 4 times. Always the same, he had children, and after a while he abandoned the family and more, with the police behind him and close to capturing him. He began to go out with the missionaries to look for more people in rural areas to convert. That is when he met Anna Nash. Anna was a woman who frequently lived the supernatural experience in her childhood. Since the house where they lived was under a demonic spirit, to this house they called the House of the Plain. He lived in great poverty in a family of 12 boys. He worked very hard in the fields since his childhood. As a teenager, he attended the local church on a regular basis, and then he met Patrick Oldman. Anna's father was a man very committed to God, someone who professed his faith at all times with anyone who passed along the way. It can be said that he was a good person, a farmer committed to his family and his faith. Shortly after, Anna and Patrick fall in love and decide to get married. At the same time they have their first girl, Rose. Being a baby, they went on a missionary trip and Yvonne on the train to visit a church of their ministry, and going on the train they passed by a cemetery, and then he sees it from afar and recognizes that whoever is on the train can hear him, and he begins to speak to him directly on the train, and a shiver runs through body Oldman's, and he hears a voice in his ear that is less than a whisper. he is afraid and the legion of the goblin is scared does not say anything to him. When they arrived at the church, he continued to feel like a presence reaching the veil of the night, and after the preaching they went to sleep, but fearing for Rose since she was small that spirit insisted on speaking to her, and he reprimanded him not to speak to him and asked her to do not reprimand him, that it was necessary for him to listen to him since he saw him when he came to church. Then he stopped reprimanding him and let him speak. The pastor's name was Jack Magee, and he said, "I saw him pass when he came on the train and I was attracted to you for what you have.